And welcome back to the CODESHO podcast,
Hey, what's
everybody.
going on, man?
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about this situation going on here?
The headphones of shame.
The headphones of shame.
Actually, they belong to your wife. I packed up my laptop and the iPad, like this iPad, and I set my headphones down and I packed up the light. I set my headphones down and I put everything in my backpack. Then I zipped up my backpack and left. And as soon as I walked in the door, because you asked me, did you bring your light? And I go, yeah. And I was thinking, oh no, I forgot my headphones. And we don't have any non-wireless headphones, so we had to borrow some from your wife. So I get these nice. I think it's rose gold.
Yes,
Might
looks
be
good on you.
Yeah,
So it matches with the skin tone
sure.
very well.
It's hard to not look good on me.
That's
So-
true. They're not really shameful at all. They
Yeah.
look great.
Yeah, and they're Beats. So this is actually, I guess the ones that we have are Bose, and those are pretty high quality too. I'm not sure how much Beats cost, but
Those were like the old ones too. That was back when they were like super popular, really
Mm.
expensive. I don't know. Like these Bose are cool.
Bose are good. Yeah.
But they've actually given me a lot of problems lately. So I don't know. Not endorsing nor not endorsing Bose, but
Yeah.
these particular ones are giving me some problems lately. But it's kind of unfair that you can get the headphones of shame. But since we're doing this at my house, I'm never really going to get the headphones of shame. It seems a little unfair.
Well, what? No, but I understand why you might say that. It's my fault for being dumb. I should pack. It's like it's 100% in my control that I forgot my headphones. So I don't think that that's unfair. What I should do is I'm gonna bring my backup set. I'll just bring them over to here. Those ones that came with the microphone. That way, that never happens again.
Yeah, we need something because the problem now is like we don't really have headphones that are not wired, or we only have headphones that are not wired these days. So finding headphones, we just had to find them buried down in the closet. So, anyways, people aren't watching this to hear about headphones, but
Well, they might be.
what they are maybe hear to talk or hear us talk about is we've been kind of following this whole Apple App Store rejection thing for a while. And apparently there's some more development with Xbox Game Pass, which Microsoft is releasing, which, by the way, to me seems like a really cool move, a really cool feature, a really cool product that they're offering. I'm pretty excited to see how well it works because the idea is that Game Pass will allow you to play video games on your iPad or your cell phone and stream them.
So okay. So Game Pass is already a thing, right? Like,
But not for mobile, right?
but not for mobile. Yeah. So like, I have a buddy who works at Microsoft, and he hooked me up with like a cheap version of the Game Pass, like I don't know, some friends and family thing. So I purchased that. So I have Xbox Game Pass, but yeah, right now it's not for mobile.
And it's also, I have Game Pass too. Granted, I hardly use it. The only reason I got Game Pass was because I wanted to play Forza Horizon 4, and it was like $60 or whatever. And instead, you could get the Game Pass for like, I think the first month was $1, and then after it's like $5 a month or something. So I was like, I'd rather just do that. But I don't think I can stream it. And if I can, I don't know how. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention. But you still have to download it to the computer.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Do they offer streaming right now, like GeForce Now kind of thing?
Not that I know. I don't play games that much, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, yeah. But so I don't know. But as far as I know, I did have to download like the Batman game that I played. You had to download it. There wasn't a streaming option.
Yeah. So anyways, the idea with the mobile thing is obviously that's not going to have enough hardware to run one of these AAA titles. So you can stream it, which is really cool. It's funny though because their marketing is a little bit misleading, but it's not their fault. I know that I'm guessing they probably have built an iOS app, but Apple's pretty much preemptively said that they're going to reject it. Like, you guys aren't going to be able to support it. So I'm sure Microsoft has done the development, and they're marketing Game Pass as this software that you can use to play games on like virtually any platform.
Yeah.
And specifically, the marketing that they're doing now is saying like, we're going to bring this to all devices, all mobile devices. You're not. You're only bringing it to Android. I mean, there's only two platforms, and it's not coming to Apple or to iOS. So I don't know. The problem is, for me, this has gone like a little bit too far because since Apple came to the App Store, they've had this one-size-fits-all strategy for dealing with app approvals and in-app purchases and stuff like that. And so the reason they're saying that they're not going to approve this is because they can't review every single game.
Each individual game of like the 700 or whatever that might be available.
And I think they're saying that it's maybe they could even get around that. It's that Game Pass is obviously going to want to be adding games in real time or like whenever they want.
Yeah.
And obviously Apple's going to want to review those, which got me wondering. I wonder if they could do that, if they could just say like, well, we'll release all of the games that we can, and every time that there's new games that come out, we'll just submit a new build, even though nothing's changed. You know what I mean? What do you think? I guess the reason I'm asking you that is because it feels to me like Apple's under a lot of scrutiny right now for the in-app purchase thing.
Yeah.
And I think that this is kind of a strategy to make it seem like that's not the reason why. Because obviously like Apple's going to push them to offer the subscription through iOS through the iOS payment method or whatever. Microsoft's not going to want to do that. They're probably not going to be able to even afford to do that, give up 30%. So it feels to me like this is all kind of a strategy to kind of defer that negative attention to Apple, and they're just saying like, oh, well, it's a quality thing. We just don't. Yeah. And I think that's BS.
Well, I mean, the thing is, even this is where I play, like I can see it from both sides. I will play devil's advocate, even though I don't like this.
Okay.
Because, like, so they, back when I was working with Ionic apps, there used to be this Ionic Dev app, and it was pretty much strictly for testing. But like, if you're my client, I could give you. You could download this dev app. I could give you this special code, and then you would get access to the app. Like for the first year that I was playing around with Ionic, they had this feature, and then Apple just like squashed that. They said, no, this isn't allowed, because effectively I could build apps and give them to my customers for free without going through the approval. So,
and that's because it's all HTML and JavaScript. Yeah.
And so, but the thing that I can understand, I do understand it, that Apple wants to make some money, and that money helps make the dev tools better, things like that, right? If they start going in this direction of letting companies have whatever they want, like basically like a platform on a platform, like that means like I can like suddenly I could charge, like I could give out my app for free, and then one of the apps within my own platform charges money, and then now maybe they have no way of knowing about that without suing, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Well, okay, so I'll kind of play back on that. The problem that I have with this is that Apple is assuming that at least for the foreseeable future, the direction or the direction of the app market is going to stay the same instead of adapting and saying like, oh, okay, we can definitely see the value in a product like this. Like, because that's the thing. That's the most frustrating thing. Like, are you telling me that the Apple execs that decided, no, we're not going to let these people, like, they don't see value in a product like that on their platform? That's huge.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, and so
you guys are going to get crushed in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
As mobile becomes more and more gaming centered, you guys are going to get crushed.
Yeah.
But you said this yesterday, and you're saying maybe it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. So, so that was me playing a little bit of devil's advocate, because I can understand they do want their piece of money, like their piece of the pie. But, yeah, I said overall maybe this is a good thing. If they're going to say no and squish it, then like that gives Android or competitors a chance to catch up. Hey, we're open. We're open to everything. We don't care.
Yeah.
And like Android maybe gets that benefit more because like most of their tools and libraries are open source, so they kind of leverage the community. They have like officially sponsored products, but even like Android Studio, I mean it's not open source, but like that's free and it's built on top of like IntelliJ.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a good thing. Hopefully they do get squashed a little bit. And then they can, maybe they'll realize that and change their behavior.
Yeah. It just seems like it's interesting because Android is going to be seen and is kind of already seen as the platform that just kind of allows their users to do exactly what they want to do without forcing them to do anything they don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because like that's the difference really between Apple and Android, or iOS and Android, which is that Apple says, look, we've done a lot of research. We know the experience that works well. We're going to give that to you. You're not going to have to worry about making a bunch of decisions about, but it does end up causing situations like this to happen where it's like, well, these new technologies don't meet our exact boundaries, and therefore it's just not for us.
Yeah.
I just
So no, I do absolutely understand. The whole, like, in that Steve Jobs biography, he talks about this a lot. Like the biographer talks about this, where the music industry just didn't see where the music industry was going. And that's why like iPod was so successful and iTunes was so successful, because everything was going digital. And that's the thing, is like it was the music industry that was like stuck and frozen and moving too slow. And now it's funny because it seems like Apple might be doing that. They want their 30% no matter what from whoever, and it's not enough. Like,
So do you agree that's the motivation here? Even though they're saying that it's something else, do you think the motivation is money?
also in the book, Steve Jobs did talk a lot about quality, and so which is like they wanted to have that full end-to-end user experience, and that's why they built the iPod. And then they actually originally, iTunes was built by like a third party, um, and so that you could load, like, it was just, they built the MP3 player. You could load MP3s on something else. They said it was garbage though, so they wanted that whole end-to-end experience, and that is on brand with Apple. Obviously, they do have like design guidelines and stuff like that. So you could say it's half and half, but I don't know. I just disagree. It's like that. Like, I think it's because people can go around that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, okay. I hate to be the moral mediator or whatever, but in that line of thinking, it's a pretty bold and insulting statement to think that, like I told you yesterday, that ESRB and Microsoft aren't doing a good job of filtering out content that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Like, really, as Apple, you can't trust that Microsoft's done a pretty thorough sweep through of the content that's going to be in this
So
application. I mean, I get it. They don't owe Microsoft anything,
yeah.
but
So with what you're saying right now, are you thinking it's because of content, like adult centered content?
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Because that was kind of my first thought when you had mentioned that. But the fact is, you have a web browser. So
Yeah.
it's like if somebody has a phone and a web browser, they can access adult content.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting that you can't make an app with adult content.
Yeah. Well, and do you think whether it's a website like you're saying, or if it's this thing, like let's say some really inappropriate, or I don't know what they're thinking
Yeah,
is going to happen,
I
but
don't know.
let's say some super violent or super inappropriate game comes to Game Pass. Do you think that an iOS user is going to sit there and be like, God, I cannot believe Apple would dare let this through? No,
Yeah.
of course not.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to blame Apple for that.
Yeah, to me, the I do understand some of like their design guidelines, because they want the apps to behave smoothly and not crash.
Yeah.
Right? And so, okay, that's why there is approval. And they want to control roughly the customer experience, meaning like if if I'm an app developer and I sell you something that ends up being garbage or is like a scam, they want to be able to come at me and test that out or like check that. So I do understand that from that aspect. The app should work well on their platform, but I think working well beyond that, it seems like this should be how is this not my choice?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's
as the developer. Like,
oh, what do you mean?
like if I want to do adult content, or again, like that's the only thing I can think of, or like,
Well, what about that? What do you think about that? Because Apple definitely doesn't allow adult content. Should they?
I don't know why they would care.
I don't know why they would care either.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they care because of the fact, I don't know how you get around this, but I mean, like, there's a lot of children that use.
But
I
they
mean,
have
a
the
child
internet.
could
That's
go
that's
to
what
the
I'm saying.
internet.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So like,
I don't know.
so that's what's weird. And to think that kids can't access that on a website. So I
Yeah.
just don't know. I just don't know why. Like, again, they can make whatever decisions they want, and I'm not sure, because even when you go through, you do kind of click some stuff. I made this game for Apple and iOS a while ago, and it had like some falling like cartoon poop, and it got rated like teen and above. It couldn't be marked as E for everyone because it had like they called it crude humor, which is it's fine. I didn't really care, like because it wasn't rated R. There wasn't like violence, but it was like it showed poop, and then they had like. Okay, so it has some crude humor, and it had like subcategories, and I was like, "What's that cartoon?" Because like, actually, does Apple even have the poop emoji?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's like a little face or whatever.
yeah. So I think that's why they changed it because
I mean,
originally
it
it was
also has
just
a middle finger.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a straight up middle finger emoji
Yeah.
that's
So
on everybody's phone.
yeah. So again, I'm not sure beyond adult. And actually, this was even an argument way back when Apple first came out, or like the iPhone first came out, because this was also in the book where they were talking about like, why can't I have crude humor? Like now you guys are the like the what do you call it? Like you guys are the man. Like you guys are controlling this. Actually, I had a buddy. This was in 2009 when we were in school. He got an iPhone and he was building an iPhone game and he made a fart app and it got rejected. And then like a year later, somebody else made a fart app because like they relaxed the rules a little bit, and so like, but even like when things first came out, they wouldn't even let a fart app. Nope, crude humor.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, Apple's gonna eventually be seen as the platform that I don't know. They're gonna be too strict on what you can and can't see on your phone that people are gonna get really frustrated. People are gonna get pissed off. People are gonna want to.
Well, yeah. So here's also the opposite argument. I had this argument again to a certain extent. I had this argument a while ago where like because people were saying Apple controls your phone and they control what apps can or cannot run, and I said yeah, but in a way that is also kind of a good thing for like security.
True.
It's harder to like write a virus or something for your iPhone. Like obviously it's also like standalone, but like
Or Mac.
or Mac. Yeah. Is it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, cuz they have like even when you download stuff, they have like warnings that pop up saying like, or even like if I'm running an Xcode project, it says, "Oh, you downloaded this from the internet. Are you sure you want to run this?"
Well, that and it also like there are security measures built into the operating system that I guess Windows just doesn't have. I mean, like Windows is virtually useless without some sort of antivirus. Granted, Windows has done a lot better job in recent history of including some pretty decent like virus software built into Windows, but in general, that was always the thing. Is like I even remember. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, that maybe there was like a marketing campaign or something that Apple ran of basically like, you don't got to worry about having Norton and all this other stuff. Just buy a Mac.
Just buy a Mac.
It's fine. Like, have you ever stressed about the antivirus software on your Mac?
No.
Yeah, nobody does. Nobody's ever thought about it, but everybody with a Windows computer has thought about it.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's true.
So you're right. I mean, by having this very isolated platform to build stuff on with strict review guidelines, yeah, maybe there is some security measures to it. And there's something to be said about like the new iOS updates coming out, all of the new privacy stuff that they've put in place. How you have to have like the nutrition card of privacy or whatever that says like what these people are collecting, and having the ability to turn off that advertising identifier. That's pretty terrifying for a lot of companies, but it's good for the user. It sucks though for companies.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to get around that. I'm sure like Facebook is scrambling right now to try to come up with a solution for all these advertising platforms are. But it's really good for the user. And actually, we should talk about that on a future episode.
Okay.
I'm really, really into that whole world of like the tracking that goes on in marketing, in online marketing. Most of it is pretty innocent, but it's a really bad, poorly designed system that really exposes a lot about users. And anyways, we could go off on a whole tangent about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about it later. Actually, because I don't know much about it. I'm sure you know a whole lot more.
I'll send you an article to read about it. That'll.
Cool. Yeah. But anyway, obviously, like those are maybe it's always been like this. Those are kind of like the polar opposites. Apple is a closed system, but it works very nice end to end, right? Windows, or in our case, Android, is like less closed. You can still buy stuff. You can still get stuff from the Google Play Store, or you can just sideload apps. Like you can just sideload whatever you want.
You can't. You say you can totally do that on an iOS phone.
Can you?
Hmm.
We did it at one of the companies I worked for, but I thought it's still like
It's not as well. It's just as easy. It's not about ease of use. It's more about like you have to go down into your settings
yeah,
after
yeah,
downloading the app, and you have to say like I strictly trust this developer,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
certificates don't last very long for
yeah,
those
yeah,
kind of apps. So, anyways, but you can sideload apps.
yeah. We did that for one of the companies that I did, like because actually this was interesting. I worked for a company where oh I guess that's like, it was the app was allowed in the App Store, Apple App Store, but it wasn't allowed in Google Play.
Weird.
Yeah,
What was that? What was it?
it's a gaming app,
Okay.
like gambling, right? Sports betting.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know
and so
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so yeah, I thought that was interesting because we would typically think of Apple as like exactly what we were talking about, like oh no adult content or whatever. They obviously allowed sports betting, but the Google platform didn't.
Yeah.
But we didn't care because on the company website you could just click a link and it would download it on the app for
Oh, just for any user.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. So if you're the Apple exec and you're sitting there right now and we'll make you put on your debate hat where you have to take a side. You have to take the side of Game Pass should be allowed on the App Store. But you're an executive, so you have to keep in mind all of the things that Apple represents. How do you solve this problem and adapt the platform?
Yeah. It is an interesting question because the thing is they are going to get money. They're going to get like whatever they're again this is this is in debate with like the base camp, but like they are going to get their slice of the pie from Microsoft. Are they? Maybe not.
Well, no.
Not it depends on where you buy it from, right? So like if you purchased it in app, I think this is what the base camp lawsuit was even over was because like you could go to the website and I don't know.
One thing, I mean, there's no way Apple would ever do this, but one thing I wish that you were allowed to do was sell your product for a 30% markup in the app and have a disclaimer that's like, you're welcome to use this payment method. We understand that our users want the ability to purchase through Apple Pay, and we completely
Yeah.
support that. But the reality is that we have to pay 30%. So the pricing of this platform was based on our overhead. Like, how much does it cost for us to distribute this piece of software? And
now we're taking a 30% hit.
and now we're taking a 30% hit. So somebody's got to take that. By the way, we offer it on the website, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can get it for 30% off, but you've got to pay directly through us.
Yeah.
I wish you could do that. There's no way Apple will allow that. But
So okay, so going back to your question, I think the biggest thing, Apple feels like they're so far ahead. They're like the only game in town. Obviously, there is an Android, and I think that they're betting on that a lot. So their argument is like, and for smaller companies that we always work for, I've never worked for like Facebook or what. Facebook's free anyway, but I've never worked for like a really really big company. But for like us, for any starting out company, it is valuable. It's so much more valuable to have an Apple app, like an app
yeah.
on iPhone. So it's valuable for the company. But what Apple is looking at it like that. It's like we're bringing you value, but they don't always, or maybe they do, and they just don't factor it in the same. They don't necessarily think of, at least we, like I said, we don't see this, how much value it's actually bringing to their platform. Without apps, their phone, I mean, it doesn't suck. It's still a cool phone. It just stops being a smartphone.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think what Apple's betting on is that in the future they will dominate the gaming industry, the mobile gaming industry, so hard that like they won't even need to be worried about Microsoft's competition. It's laughable to me. Like there, in nowhere in the near future do I see some outcome where Apple is dominating Microsoft in gaming. It's not going to happen. And like I get that eventually you want to be there, but like it's not now. Apple is not like Apple's trying to make a shift into gaming, but you're not there yet. And you need
Oh, are they?
what do are they going towards that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it seems pretty obvious to me with the like Apple Arcade,
Oh, yeah.
especially mobile gaming for sure. But it also seems like as of recent years, I'm starting to see more games coming out on the Mac platform. I don't know I don't know why that is though. I doubt Apple's offered anything new that makes it. I bet it's just the game engine supporting it, like Unity and
Mm.
whatever. But
Oh
but
yeah, that's yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with Apple.
Mm.
I wonder. Do you think them going to new like ARM based Macs is that gonna be a problem for Unity and or will they just adapt?
At the start at least, I don't think they're gonna.
How does it work? I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Okay.
If you can answer this question in 30 seconds or less and just satisfy my curiosity. Um, GPUs don't work differently fundamentally between Mac and Windows, right? They're essentially the same.
Yeah, because the drivers, it's like that. That's what you've heard the term drivers. That's what that is. It's drivers are software that interacts between the current operating system and the hardware.
In the hardware, okay. And so anytime a new version of an operating system comes out, you have to adapt those drivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Apple decides to go to an ARM-based, like all their Macs are going to be ARM-based,
Mhm.
is that going to change? Like, is that going to really change the way that these engines work, or is it mostly graphics stuff anyways? So it's like fine.
That's
There's a lot of processing that goes on too, though,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's not going to be a problem. The thing is, I don't think it's gonna affect Unity at all, right? Because Apple will still come with the Clang compiler, which is that's like their C++ and Objective C compiler, and that's the thing that's gonna compile it down
I see.
to the assembly instructions.
Gotcha. So it shouldn't change too
It
much.
shouldn't change. Yeah, it shouldn't change too much because it's like I said, it's the responsibility of the compiler to do that. And I'm sure that Apple, like again, like there's no way that Apple isn't going to ship with a version of that compiler, because otherwise Xcode and stuff wouldn't work.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Well, anyways, going back to the question, so what do you do if you're Apple and you see yourself, like we were just saying, you see yourself being this dominant gaming platform? Well, first of
I
all,
guess that's
I'm
it.
I'm
Yeah.
forcing you to
Yeah.
take a side on this, but what are your actual thoughts on that? Do you think that like do you agree that Apple, as of right now, is so far behind the power curve in gaming that they do just kind of need to work with Microsoft and others, or do they not owe that to them? And do you think the users won't care, or do you
I,
think Apple's making the right decision?
mm, as a user, I don't like it. As Apple, yeah, maybe you just say tough, like deal because like people aren't going to get rid of their iPhones.
But you're
And
saying tough to your users. You're
I know.
not really. I know people look at this and
And-
they're like, "Oh, look at them stiff arming Microsoft," but like you're stiff arming your users.
Yeah, but if the users aren't going to change their behavior, that's again like this is the gamble that I think that they're making, and I like if I think my actual phone product dominates so much that you're like, oh, you're not going to go, you love Apple, you're not going to go to Android, then that at least gives me time to build a better gaming platform. Now, if there's a company that can do it, like we were talking about this with the architecture, if there's a company that can do it, it certainly does seem like Apple can.
Yeah.
Apple totally does seem like IBM from the 80s. Like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
this
yeah.
is all the stuff that Steve Jobs seemed to hated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like,
true. What do you think he would do if he were here? It doesn't seem Steve Jobs-esque to give in to Microsoft. Although he wasn't like enemies with.
oh yeah, he didn't like him. Yeah, I mean,
Well, him and like Bill Gates were pretty cool.
yeah, he thought he was lame. He said, I think he had a quote like he should do.
What? They were cool. He said Steve Jobs said that
Bill Gates
was lame.
Yeah, like there was some rivalry, and he said something like he would be more interesting if he did acid, if he dropped acid or something like that. I think that Steve Jobs would reinvent the game industry. You gonna look up that quote?
No,
Oh, you
I
can't.
believe you on the
Yeah.
quote. What I want to show you is,
When they were older and talking?
yeah, you know what I'm talking about, and he like
Yeah.
gets all emotional and
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. They
Maybe,
weren't.
maybe it wasn't. So maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't like Microsoft. Maybe they were enemies. Maybe
At least in their younger days, because like there was like they had to make concessions. Like he really hated the fact that Windows stole the concept of a GUI from them, even though everybody else thinks objectively that wasn't true. They both got the idea from Xerox PARC.
Yeah.
And so he didn't like that. He made some concessions, but at one point, like, and actually he needed Bill Gates at one point. They needed Office on Mac, to make it usable for like feasible for office style stuff. And so they made a deal with, I'm gonna forget the details, but like they did make a deal, and Microsoft was building out some version. And obviously we know about that. Like they continue to do that now, but like I think at one point something went sour with the deal, and like Steve Jobs just wasn't happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe everything you said is right. Maybe all that maybe all that the video that I'm talking about means is that they have like just mad respect for each other, which
Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
I'm sure that yeah.
Yeah, they both. Yeah, I mean, what they were both able to accomplish during the first couple decades of, it's just insane.
Yeah. So I think my answer would be, if I'm putting on my Steve Jobs hat, I think I wouldn't. I would say F you to Microsoft, and I would just do it. Like if I was Apple, again, like I think that Apple could do it. It might take some time.
What if Nvidia offered this? Would it be different?
No, I
Think it would be the same?
I think I think it'd be the same. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying because it's Microsoft and because they are more enemies than Nvidia, maybe.
Oh. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's that.
Although they're sour with Nvidia too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is, if you open it up for Microsoft to have this type of service, then you also have to. You don't have to, but like other companies are now going to say, well, why can't I have like the Ionic platform? Well, why can't I have the Ionic Dev back? And then suddenly you open it up. If you open up your platform to become a platform for other people, for one other company, like that's basically what they're doing. We're saying, like, I think Apple is saying, we are a platform for apps. We're not a platform for additional platforms.
Yeah.
And so at least, I guess.
Let me throw this out there. Not in any way to get political. It just, this quote happens to be by the former president, Barack Obama. He has a quote where he says, one thing I hate more than anything is people that boil extremely complex topics down into simple catchphrases or simple things, just like simple things. And man, I totally agree with that. Like I feel like there's a lot of very complex problems out there, and boiling them down to just some super oversimplified thing is not good. And I think that's kind of what Apple's doing here. Is this is a complex problem. You guys have built a platform that allows people from all different software backgrounds to create all sorts of different software. Whenever you started the App Store, there is absolutely apps on the App Store now that you never expected would be that.
Yeah.
And so Apple's just saying, well, we acknowledge the complexity of the App Store, but still it's just going to be this oversimplified process of picking apps. And I just think that's so stupid. Like, this is a very complex problem. Go deal with it complexly. You guys have some of the most intelligent and, I don't know, just like bright people in the whole world. Go come up with something that makes sense. There's a way, because I get the Ionic thing. Of course you don't want that. And it's not just Ionic. I mean, there's other ways of doing that too. Even through React Native, you can do similar stuff.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I just wish that they could say, there's definitely a way for them to not allow that, but allow it for gaming or something else. Again, it's a complex problem. Deal with it complexly. Don't just say one size fits all, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah.
I just don't understand why they can't do that. And this is for a lot of things too. The base camp thing, them getting out, like there's a way to deal with that problem as well without just stiff arming people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's appropriate to stiff arm people. Totally understand that. And sometimes that's a strategic move, and sometimes you can use it. But if that's your only approach, come on. Like people are going to get sick and tired of you. That's Apple's go-to move. You don't do exactly what we want. I just don't get it.
Yeah. And so, I'm not.
People aren't going to want to work with you. Seriously, you've lost. You've stiff-armed Intel. Okay, fine. You guys can make your own processors, and I actually support them doing that. Go ahead. But you stiff-arm them, stiff-arm NVIDIA, stiff-arm Microsoft, stiff-arm base. Like, dude, come on. You guys are going to end up pissing everybody off.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to want to. I mean, people. Right now, people develop for your platform out of necessity. You guys have done a killer job of getting a lot of people on your platform. That's why people develop for you. They don't develop for you because they love you. They develop for you because they have to, because they want to,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
want to.
They want to get their product out to, like, they have there's only two, but like they have the biggest game in town when it comes to like building apps, like consumer facing apps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So what do you do?
I think, oh,
How do you deal if you're forced to deal with this problem? And you say the only outcome is we allow Microsoft on the platform. How do you do it?
oh, okay. So now you're not asking me what I would do. You're asking me how do I deal with the problem of like we're gonna acknowledge that this thing is going on the platform. So then what do we do?
Yeah, okay, because I feel like we keep talking and the question never gets answered because I'm curious how you think you deal with it. But it's like you said, Apple's making a gamble. But I think what they're really gambling on more than anything is that this won't stick and it won't be very popular, or maybe it won't work well, or it's in its infancy and it's not ready yet. That's really what they're gambling on. Because if it takes off,
Oh yeah.
that's not good for Apple. That's really, really bad. So
Yeah.
they're making a bet right now that it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
Fine. But if it does, 1 year from now, Apple's looking back and they're like, "Oh, geez, we should have done it."
Because Apple has made mistakes before.
Yeah,
And so I think, like, yeah, it's hard because it feels like they're being dumb. It feels like they're being short-sighted. And we just said they got some of the smartest people on the planet working for them. So maybe they are considering this stuff. But it feels like they are doing the one-size-fits-all. And it feels like they are trying, or like they are doing what the music industry did. And it seems like, okay, you do need to adapt. Because like the music industry also didn't want to adapt. And it, like now, what are we, 20 years after, like,
and it's completely different.
yeah. But like, but at the time, those people, they couldn't see where things were going.
Is it enough to just say we make the exception for gaming companies, but nobody else? Or is that just bad? No. Like, because to me, reasonable. What's so bad about that? Like, I don't understand. Like, that seems rational to me. Okay, we get it. If you're a gaming company, especially one like Microsoft.
Well, it seems better to say. It seems better to go a completely different route of allowing this to be like they should have Microsoft build it into their platform. So like they could make a deal with these like huge companies, right? Apple makes a deal with Microsoft specifically, and so Apple is producing so that they don't even open it up for other people. They make a deal. It says, okay,
Like a first party solution.
yeah. So we have an Apple app, first party Apple app, brought to you by Microsoft that allows Xbox streaming. That's what I would do.
That'll be the day. Ooh, that would be crazy. That's a good solution, though.
But that's what they did with. That is really what they did with the Word stuff. Because I forgot what it was before, but like it just wasn't good.
Well, because the thing is, Apple can't stake their claim right now, because even if you think, well, we'll have the influence soon to get people to develop for our platform instead of for Microsoft, let's say, the streaming thing, it is, well, no, maybe Apple is the one. Maybe I guess I never really considered that maybe Apple can do the same as Game Pass, because this whole time I've been thinking that Microsoft has some like relationship with the game developers that allows them to offer a service like this, but I don't know that they do. Maybe Apple could just do it.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, if Apple can't do the streaming thing, well, their hardware is nowhere close to running AAA games.
Of course, yeah.
So the only thing you could do potentially is stream them. And that'll probably always be the case. In fact, that is where the games industry is going. Like,
A lot of people think that, yeah.
yeah, in a couple decades, you're not going to run games on your hardware anymore. Like, it just, there's no way.
Yeah.
So maybe Apple could do that. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's how you solve the problem. It doesn't even need to be brought to you by Microsoft.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
They could just do it. I wonder if there's anything stopping them from.
They could just go to. I mean, I think does Microsoft have? They're going to have some relationships with the game companies because they're at least already in that space.
Yeah, and they make a lot of games like Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
Or Forza in general, and some other ones too.
Yeah. So potentially they could just come out with that, and maybe that is the gamble. They're saying, hey, customers, we're not trying to screw you. we're just doing it ourselves,
And we're going to do it better
and we're gonna do it better
because
it's
they do
Apple.
always do that.
Yeah. So it could be that, and then maybe they only make deals where, yeah,
This has to be a conversation at Apple going on.
I'm sure somebody's thinking about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, enough. We settled that. I feel
Yeah.
pretty content with that topic.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing that you were wanting to talk about is Twitter.
Twitter, yeah. So, I try to be interactive on Twitter, and obviously I try not to say like negative stuff. This doesn't have to be negative, but I did see, somebody posted something. I guess I don't like should statements.
Okay.
And so somebody said this person was obviously a junior developer, and they had said companies should hire more junior developers, and I didn't like that statement. I didn't argue with them. I didn't say anything. I read through some of the other comments, but nobody was saying it. Everyone was saying like, yeah, of course. But I don't think. Again, this is something that I do a lot, even though I don't necessarily run my own company. I don't run my own company, but I take a look at it from that other side. And like, of course, this person who's a junior dev and all these people commenting who are junior devs are saying like, yeah, companies should hire more junior devs.
Go ahead.
But just okay. But why? From the company standpoint, why? If you're not bringing value, like even if it's like junior level value, that's fine. But like a smaller company can't always afford to hire a junior dev because now you have to have senior devs watching them and possibly like fixing stuff. So like, I don't think that you should say you should do this. I think you have to sell yourself. That's where that so good they can't ignore you comes in. And obviously as a junior dev, it's harder to. You're not selling yourself as an expert, but you're selling yourself as I can do this work and I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to work hard.
Yeah. Okay. Before I even offer my opinion on this, let me flip this statement completely on its head because I think that you're looking at the one interpretation of this statement and I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and say maybe, because there's two ways to read that.
Okay.
Companies should hire junior developers as in they have some obligation to by nature of ethics or morals, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's the second way to look at this, which is they should hire more junior devs because it would be good for them. Not that they should ethically or morally, but they should because it's in their best interest.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he was saying. I'm sure that what he was saying is what your interpretation is.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I would be curious. That's a fine argument. Make that. Because I'm just curious. Because like if you think it benefits the company, then use that as a selling point in your interview, or I don't know. That's the problem. Is maybe it's even hard to get an interview because you're a junior dev.
Well, you posted it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Offer some. Whatever input on that.
On why, yeah.
Because you're right. If you go around telling people you should, because you have some moral obligation to, people aren't going to listen to you. That's not really the society we live in. Yeah. It's pretty cutthroat. Like we do things that are good for us, but sometimes companies don't know what's good for them. Mm-hmm. For sure, that's true. A lot of times companies do things that are not good for them. Yeah. And I think that I could see a serious argument for why it would be good for companies to hire junior devs. I could see that. The thing is, companies don't. They almost always hire senior devs, but your senior devs will do work that is way beneath what you're paying them for. Yeah. And I hate to put it that way because it's not like they're better than that. I've definitely done work. I mean, I would consider, in our realm, I would consider myself a senior dev, but I wouldn't. And I've never scoffed at somebody for saying, "Hey, can you help me with this really low level thing?" Yeah. I'll help you with it. But what you're paying me, you could pay somebody half, a third maybe of my salary to do that work.
Well, I mean, we have.
There's always junior developer work available at companies.
Yeah. I mean, we at our current company, we do some sales pages, and definitely on Android and iPhone, that is some of the sales pages that we do is dirt simple. Work. It's grinding work.
Yep.
Right. And then on the website we do that a lot too. And we have I don't know how much our sales page guy makes, but he's good, so he must be making a decent amount.
He's a little bit different though because he is a designer as well. So he's very specialized in that world.
Mm-hmm. So but my point is I assume that he makes a lot and he could do the design work up front. Like, and I think they are trying to get him a team of people actually, right?
Yeah.
With some junior devs. So, yeah. So that is a fair argument. Hey, I'll do the work to free your senior devs to do the harder work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, just as a byproduct, if it matters to you, you're doing a really good thing. You're really helping me out here. Like and you could be humble about that. You'd be doing me a great service if you'd let me come onto your team, learn, I'll grow with your team. And here's another benefit to you hiring a junior developer. You get a person that has very few, if any, preconceived notions about what this looks like.
Yeah.
So you can very much mold them. And then I would say after a year, they're probably not a junior developer anymore. You've got yourself a pretty decent developer that's hopefully pretty confident and competent with your platform.
Yeah.
So you just got to save a whole bunch of money, tens of thousands, maybe $100,000 over the course of a year on somebody that now you've earned their loyalty.
Yeah.
This seems like a really convincing argument to me.
So that is a good argument if that's what they were saying. Okay, but here's also the flip side. So if that's what they're saying, I do agree with that. The hard part is, and because I've worked for companies that hired junior devs to do not junior dev work. We had somebody at our work, but like at a different company they were hiring a couple of full stack junior devs basically, and some of them worked there for like 3 years. I came in at the tail end of them, but they really had messed up the software, but that was also the company's fault because the company hired junior devs, let 2 of them work remote, and they didn't really have anybody like monitoring them. Like if you're gonna hire a junior dev, you do need to have them work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that is the company's fault, and so, but that's the difficult thing because they have this expensive senior developer who's going out and building going out and fulfilling the needs of the client, and so I guess even the counter argument, like the junior dev can do the work that the senior dev shouldn't need to do, right? Like they can do it for cheaper, but now the senior dev is spending time, at least a little bit of time, like doing some teaching and like mentoring or monitoring. And again,
we've been there.
Yeah. And I don't mind that either, and I don't think our company like minds that. But that are you freeing up time for the senior dev?
Yeah, well,
that's the question.
If you're a junior dev, that should be constantly on your mind because when I was a junior developer, I don't want to like praise myself. It sounds weird to just like praise myself, but one thing that I paid constant attention to is that I didn't want to be a burden on anybody above me.
Yeah.
So what's better, I think sometimes if you're a junior developer, you've got this idea in your head that you've got to prove yourself and you've got to move quickly. And sometimes to move quickly, if you get hung up on a problem, you want to ask somebody so that you can resolve that quickly and move on. But I don't think that's the expectation. If your job title actually has junior in it, they're not expecting you to move at the speed of light.
Yeah.
Slow down, do some research. They're probably going to give you a break. And if they don't, you don't want to be there. So fine, leave. If they're being way too hard on you, then go. They hired you as a junior dev. There's definitely companies that have unrealistic expectations of junior developers. Do your research, do your homework, figure out how to solve the problem, and instead of wasting 30 minutes of a senior dev's time, you spend an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We've all had to do that. I've spent 4 hours, 8 hours at times debugging things.
Yeah.
Figure out the problem, and then the company will want to keep you. I guess that's the thing. Like, junior developers feel like all these people have some obligation to hire them, but what they don't realize is a lot of times a company has a bad experience because previous junior developers have burdened them. And so you have to be aware of that. Like you're kind of like fighting an uphill battle as a junior developer, and you've got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
I think these people that make this argument, they want this like fantasy world.
That's exactly it. That's what the Twitter thing reminded me of. Okay, so you think that companies should hire, again, we don't know what their exact meaning was, so we'll assume, right now I'm assuming the one that I took. You want to get hired, you want a company to hire you to pay you to learn. Now the thing is, I want that too, and I do have that attitude at every job, whether I'm senior or not. I do, and because you would kind of mention that when you're a junior, you should like recognize that this is a cool opportunity. I think about that at every job. I'm so happy with the current job that we have because I got to like solve really cool architecture problems, right? Like stuff that I've been trying to do, but I didn't necessarily start an app from scratch. Now I did that. Now you did that.
Yeah.
And going forward, it's going to be that same thing. So, but like if you're a junior dev and you say, well, it's not fair. Companies aren't hiring junior devs. You just, okay, become valuable to them. Like,
Yeah.
because that's the thing is you are getting something valuable, incredibly valuable in return.
Yeah, I mean, it's like these random companies don't owe you anything.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
it's a pretty egotistical thing
Yeah.
to think
Yeah.
that like, well, just by existing and just by having learned a little bit about programming, somebody owes me money every hour. Like, no, you
Yeah.
have to bring that company value.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to pay for yourself. And one thing, we obviously weren't junior developers when we got hired at the company that we're at now, but one thing that they told us, they were like very honest. It was like,
Yeah.
this is a startup and you guys aren't paying for yourself right now. Pay
Because
for
there
yourself.
was there was no app. So,
Right.
So like the
And even in the beginning, there was an app, but it still wasn't paying
it
for
wasn't
itself.
monetized. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that they told us constantly, you guys need to pay for yourselves. And I think that's a fair thing for somebody to say.
Yeah.
Why else would they bring you on?
I agree. I also understand that it gets harder to measure.
Well, sure.
Like depending on which section or where exactly you're at. For us, it seems mostly cut and dry, right? Like because there's only one app developer, and obviously I'm Android, you're iOS. But that being said, there was still a ton of back-end work that needed to be done.
Yeah.
Maybe some of that needed to be done for the website, regardless. But relatively, it's cut and dry.
You just got to look at the team and what they're working on, find the overall revenue for that team, how much it's costing to earn that revenue, and if you're close or losing money,
Yeah.
then we try to find our bottlenecks. Well, who's holding us back?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that would be easy to tell. So as a junior developer, that's your job. Your job is to literally prove to everybody that you are saving this company money by freeing up your senior developer. And that senior developer should be obvious. He or she should know, like, yeah, I'm obvious. It's clear to me that I'm spending less time on this stuff and I'm getting to focus more on this deeper stuff.
Yeah.
And if he knows that, leadership will know that.
Yeah, then you're good.
And then you're good. And then you could just keep growing. But like you said, junior developers, I feel like always wonder, what is it like to be a senior developer? And I think what it is like you hit the nail on the head. It's like I'm no longer scared of what I don't know. I'm more excited about it. And like that feeling that you should have as a junior developer of like, I'm here to grow. I'm excited about growing. I'm going to, how did you word it? The way you just worded it a second ago sounded really good. Instead of that being forced, it's more natural. It's like every day I come in and I'm excited about what I get to learn. I'm excited about diving. I'm excited about getting to dive into this stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're a junior developer, like don't ever think that should go away. That should always be there. You should always be striving to learn more.
Well, yeah. There's never going to be a time where you know everything.
No, yeah, of course not.
Or you stop learning. This is true about life in general, but definitely for programming. Like you should always be learning, always trying to get better.
Yeah. And I think companies want that. Like I've never met an employer that was like so selfish that they couldn't see the value in you learning as a result of working on their product.
What about that one boss that you had?
Even him.
Okay.
Well, because what I mean is like I don't think that he even looked at us learning as like costing him money.
Okay.
It was like you guys are just learning. Like that's the cool thing about programming is like when we learn, it's not like we're taking time away from building your product to learn. We're learning as a result of building your product.
Yeah, that's part of the process.
Yeah. And if an employer can't recognize that you're never going to hire, I truly believe this, like you're never going to hire a developer that has done and written every line of code that will be in your project. There's going to be things that they don't know. They're going to have to do some research.
Because the language itself updates, the platform updates.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's not the situation where, because even if I were to rewrite our current app, I would write it better.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like,
and I don't think the owners would be mad about that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Oh, it's better. Cool.
Yeah.
Why is it better? That could be one of their questions.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff has changed in the mobile world since 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Like just when you think you know everything, Apple's like, oh, by the way, layouts, completely different.
Yeah, we're doing.
Scrap every single thing that you know.
Remember that thing you've been doing for the last 10 years? We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even going from like Objective-C to Swift, massive. I mean, I get the underlying like framework is the same, but I mean, flip everything on its head. Everything is now new.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Where were we going with that?
Oh, just learning. Just like so it is good to learn, but recognize as a junior developer or whatever that there isn't some magical fairy tale fantasy of like, now I just know everything. You should always be striving to improve.
Yeah. I totally get where you're coming from, but and like I said, I think that your interpretation of that tweet is exactly what it is, but I'm just offering some advice here. Like if you're a junior developer, it's like you said, you got to bring value. The thing is,
it's like that. I mean, so I read a whole bunch of books about this kind of stuff, and this is exactly what they say. And it reminds me of, I think it was John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you. I'm gonna mess it up.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you could do for your country.
Yeah. But so like, think about that. Like, you don't have to, if you don't want to do it for your country. That's we're talking about your company. You don't have to be like a company, like the company man or whatever. But like, I guess in the end, the way I still think about it is you are getting more by learning. You are getting more.
Yeah.
So, but like, if you go in with that attitude of like, how can I really help this company, you are going to benefit a whole lot. Actually, that book Linchpin is entirely about that. Like giving gifts, and like by giving the gifts of art or whatever he calls it, the receiver is actually like the benefit. Or no, sorry, the gift giver is actually the one who benefits. And that is what I think. I learned so much by building this app that we're working on. I want to improve it now, because now I was here, now I'm higher, right? So like my knowledge is higher, and I go, oh, actually I could do it better.
And even as people with a pretty deep understanding of the platform, the app that we're building, the languages, we've never had any sense of like entitlement to the job. It's like, I continue to be here because I continue to work hard for you. And if I ever stop working hard for you, then this relationship is over. And so for junior devs, it's the same thing. They don't owe you anything. Like they really, I don't know how you could think that. Like I get what they're trying to say, because the problem is, the one thing we haven't talked about is that there are jobs that have unreasonable expectations for developers. I could also see an argument being made for that. Like people saying we want 10 years of Swift experience. Well, hadn't been around for 10 years. So So I get that. But also, well, it was really loud, but also with that being said, understand that when you're applying for jobs, I feel like a lot of times those job descriptions or whatever,
the requirements aren't requirements.
They're not requirements, and they're scare tactics. They're trying to make you doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Go in there. Tell them what you know. Be honest. Be humble. You know, maybe make yourself sound a little good. I don't see anything wrong with that. But also just know your place. Know where you're at.
It is marketing.
It's for sure marketing.
You have to figure out how to market yourself.
Yeah, and so let's come back to the original statement. Companies should hire junior developers. Well, if you are not getting hired right now, it feels like you haven't done anything to deserve them to hire you. So instead of just leaving this conversation and just saying, well, eat dust, what you should be doing is trying to find ways to market yourself better, make yourself a more appealing candidate.
Become so good they can't ignore you, even as a junior dev.
Yeah. I mean, become such a good junior candidate that they can't ignore you.
Yeah, so
exactly.
This was so when I first brought up this topic, I wanted to talk about one of the people in our company right now, and then but you actually did this effectively, like the same thing. Your story was you were working like data entry. You were like managing a team of like data entry, and then you wanted a crack at the programming side.
Yeah.
So you got into a company first, and I have another buddy who did the exact same thing. He was studying programming on the side. I think he worked for like a nutrition company. Or something like that. And yeah, like he was studying programming on the side. He wanted to become a programmer, so he was learning. And he goes, "Hey, can I help work on the website? Or what if can I build the website? Like we didn't have one, or like this wasn't my company. That's what he said. And for that first job, he was getting paid way. He said he was like, I was getting way underpaid as a developer because I was doing I was doing development work, but I wasn't getting paid like a developer. But he did that for like a year and a half for that company.
Yeah.
Because now on his resume, he can say, I built this thing. And then after like 2 or 3 years, like when I worked with him at some other company, he was making good money. And he was, he was like full stack front end or like front end dev or something like that. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. It's funny because everybody always looks at getting into programming as, well, you have to be a junior developer first. And I do see that a lot. There is a lot of people that become junior developers first, but that's unlike other jobs. Like you don't get to be a junior pilot first. You got to learn. You got to practice as a pilot. You got to get many hours of flight time under your belt before anybody's going to hire you as a pilot.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you got on some airline and they're like, "Hello, welcome to flight blah blah blah. This is your junior pilot speaking." Oh my God,
What is
I'm
happening?
getting off this plane. Like, so I don't know why programming is any different. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the traditional route. We work with a guy that did this. I don't think he ever had a junior developer job, although maybe we kind of called him that at our current job, but he really wasn't. I mean, he was as competent and as capable as any other developer I've worked with because he chose, granted, he did it when he was really young, so by the time he actually got to a working age, he was already good enough to be a regular developer. But regardless, he was like, okay, well, I'm not going to waste any time. Like, I'm going to get good at this skill, and then I'm going to go apply to be a developer.
Yeah.
You can do that.
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, continue your job at whatever it is that you're already doing. If it's fast food or if it's if you're a manager, whatever job you're doing, do that on the side. Keep learning programming, get good enough, and then
build. I mean, this is what everyone says. Build app. Don't just like learn a language. Don't just learn C++ or Swift. Build apps. Build app clones. Whatever.
That's the benefit of that's the cool thing about programming is at least you can say like, hey, check out my work.
Yeah.
Because that's all people really care about. Like, I can't say this enough. I don't think employers really care about your actual experience. It's not like maybe a manager role where they're looking for or like a product owner or a product manager role or project manager. They want to see how many years have you done this? How much experience do you have? At the end of the day, when it comes to programming, people want good programmers. They don't really care. They're going to need some examples, but that's the thing is like if you're a junior developer, why does somebody want to hire you if you've given them no reason to believe that you're a good developer?
Yeah.
Show them something. Get on GitHub. Make clones like you said.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll just keep offering this piece of advice. Go on Instagram. Find some music artist that's up and coming or some painter or something and offer to build them a freaking website.
I gave that advice on Twitter to somebody.
Did you?
Yeah, and like it was like really highly liked.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because like somebody was like, how can I like what can I do for a portfolio? And I said, go and help. It was exactly your advice. I said, go. This was on the CODESHO.
Yeah.
But I said like, yeah, go on GitHub or go on Instagram or wherever and make somebody's website for free. And then like some people don't like that, but I think if you
I mean, I don't know what you expect. You have to have some experience.
Yeah, if you have no experience,
why would they hire you?
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine going to like apply for like a foreman job or something?
Oh, I was gonna say like car mechanic.
Yeah.
Do you know how to fix a car? Well, no,
I'm a junior. You guys should hire more junior mechanics.
You guys should handle. Yeah. What? What?
Okay, well, if you're a junior mechanic, can you at least show me some examples? No.
Yeah.
Can't show you one car that I fixed. Don't want to give you any example.
No,
they're not going to hire you.
Yeah.
I don't it's programming's a weird one. Programming's a weird industry because I feel like there's more sense of entitlement from the people trying to get in than any other job. And I mean, programming at its core is engineering, and it's just as difficult as any other form of engineering, architectural engineering, civil engineering.
But and I think I know why. Sorry, were you done with that?
No,
okay.
no, you go ahead. Yeah, I'm curious. Why do you think why?
The entitlement. It's because it's so complex, and I want to talk about that as well. It can be so complex to architect things, right? But when people are learning, they're not even learning to architect things correctly. They make a web page and it goes, look, or like they make an app. You can get an app. You have a video on our YouTube channel. Make an app in less than 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it is like a kind of like do nothing app, and that's fine because it's only 6 minutes.
How insulting!
I know. I can't believe you said that. but yeah, like I said, I took over apps for some people who clearly didn't really know what they were doing. But when I show you my app, you don't know like the horrible architecture or like spaghetti code that's hiding underneath there. It's like all you see is like a mostly working app. It's, oh, don't touch that button because it might crash. But like, yeah, like
So how do you think that contributes to the entitlement?
Oh, because like people don't know what they don't know, so they go, well, I can make an app.
I
This
see.
must be what Cole does too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I can do the what? Why is this guy getting paid? You know, like why is Facebook paying these people 200K and like they only want to give me 30K? I'm making an app because
Some
like
people don't even want to give me a job.
yeah, some people don't even want to give me a job. So I think that's where the entitlement is.
That's a really good point.
Because like my students like
Yeah, maybe my video's doing a disservice to the app community.
no, because I don't.
I'm just trying to get people excited about the fact that, like, look, these are the tools. This is at its core what you're doing, and we're just going to get more and more complex. But you have to understand that this does get infinitely complex, and I truly mean infinitely, because at some point, every developer that's created some great platform like Laravel or anything like that, they're walking into unprecedented territory where they say, I'm trying to solve a problem that nobody else has solved.
Yeah.
And programmers do this a lot. And so it does get infinitely complex, and it will always get infinitely complex because people are going to want to solve more and more problems that haven't been solved yet.
And the more problems that we solve, we're actually now we're opening up like here, like we're at like the edge of this table, and like we can't. How do we get past this, right? So we expand the table more, but now there's a new edge, and those are the new problems that we're going to solve.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's going to go on forever.
I really like your point, though. I've never thought about that because I've always thought that programming had this odd sense of like new programmers had this odd sense of entitlement. That the only thing I chalked it up to is maybe that's just kind of the way the world is these days. I tend to be a little bit more old-fashioned, and then it's like I don't think that anybody owes you anything.
Yeah.
They only.
I think that you're right about that too. Like there is. It seems like there's entitlement in general.
It's probably a combination of both, yeah. And programmers tend to be on the younger side. Programmers tend to be 20-somethings.
Yeah.
There's even some job like descriptions or whatever that say like we hire 20 to 30-year-olds or whatever. That's weird. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Pretty sure that's illegal.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal too.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, but I think you're right. I think that people see like, well, and that's the other thing too, is like everybody's looking for the fastest solution to the problem these days. And I think that there's a place in the market for them. And I'm not saying I would get rid of them. I would keep them. But I do understand the argument that people make that like platforms like Wix or whatever, like these website builders or even app builder software, it does devalue the average software engineer because it makes it seem like it's easier to do these things than it is.
Yeah.
And so it's a weird one because, again, I tend to be like, well, that's the market. Like, that's what it did. I'm not going to say that's a bad thing or that we should legislate that away. Like, no, it should be there. But we do have to acknowledge this does devalue people. And we do got to remind people that at the end of the day, this is software engineering. And, like, it's tough. It's really difficult. And it's infinitely complicated. And people can't think that making an app is as simple or as some drag and drop thing. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. It's
very complicated.
Or you're going to get, if you have a cookie cutter, how do I want to say this? If you have a cookie cutter solution, that can only solve cookie cutter problems.
Yeah.
So that's and so actually, I mean, it's a little bit different, but even our current company, they have two websites. Their original website was all on WordPress, and that got them to where we are now, or where we were last year, and then they built their own platform.
Yeah.
Like they maxed out. They were roughly maxing out WordPress, and then we turned on the new platform, like the in-house solution.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a place for the WordPress stuff. Like, but the people that we work for realized, like, okay, we do want to solve complex problems, and eventually you'll start to hit roadblocks with, okay, well, WordPress can't do this, it can't do that. We need to do this, and then you hire software developers. But I don't know. It does kind of devalue the industry because not only do people see that maybe it's easy, but also, like you're saying, these junior developers, they might have made a website or two with some nice little tools, and then they think that this is something very easy, and it's very much not.
Yeah, that is.
And they also, junior devs tend to have this I used to think it for sure when I was a junior dev. I used to look at senior developers and think like, these guys know it all. They've got it all figured out, and they don't. I mean, they definitely don't.
yeah, and yeah, to varying degrees. Some people might know more. Some people might know actually way less.
Well, I mean, being an engineer is about solving problems
Yeah,
that are not currently solved. Like
yeah, yeah,
you're not gonna know. Like no application that you're gonna work on is gonna be the same. They're all different. These
yeah.
companies are all trying to compete with each other. If even if you work in some industry and go get a job at another company that's doing the exact same thing, it's gonna be completely different.
It's going to be different.
They're solving different problems. They're trying to compete with each other. So
Mm.
I don't know.
The what was I going to say? Oh yeah, like just about devaluing. This is the challenge because yeah, like places like you said, WordPress has its place, and obviously it worked well for our company as they were starting out. They were pretty small. As they got bigger, they needed better solutions. It is difficult because it's for startups especially, but like even a lot of these big companies, they want to shop it out to the cheapest place, but they don't realize that it's not until after the fact do they realize that like shopping it out to the cheapest place is you're going to get a cheaper product. So I
Yeah.
had a buddy who worked at it was like a UX UI design shop. So they were working for different clients all the time. And those clients, a lot of their clients had originally like hired the work out to like Indian developers, like developers in India. And not to say anything bad about all developers in India. Like that's not what I mean. But like the problem was they were trying to they were trying to get the cheapest solution possible. So they went outside of America as well. But a lot of those clients, their product was too complex, so it would be half done or like not done at all, like just garbage. So then they would come to my buddies. He wasn't the owner, but like the company that he worked for, and they would like start from scratch or like take their code base and like fix it up. He just applied for Chipotle.
In California,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
been seeing their like ads pop up a lot. They're hiring.
yeah. Oh, and here's why. I think he's guessing on this. They're restarting their app from scratch, and he says he thinks it sounded like they had hired it out to a dev shop, and it just now they want to take it in house,
Yeah.
and so
Chipotle's app is pretty cool.
I
Just
think
as a side note.
I think the only time I used it was to calculate the calories of maybe that was just the website to calculate the calories of my burrito.
I just thought they had like a really cool design, like just the way that it worked. I don't know if the underlying architecture was garbage, but it seemed to work
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah.
I liked it.
So yeah, so like
Ooh, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it's just like the challenge is the companies are also going to need to recognize that like again nothing wrong with hiring junior devs if you can have them be overseen by seniors, but like just because there's these cheap solutions, you have to recognize that like if I use the cheap solution, there's a chance that I could get like I like the solution won't work at all.
Could get burned in
Yeah.
the end.
Of course.
And it could cost you more than
Yeah.
it would have just to get a good developer from the beginning.
Of course, the hard part is, I mean, we talked about this before. We've had 2 other iOS devs at our work, and you are worth, I don't know how much they were getting paid, but you aren't making double what they are making, but you
Yeah.
are worth them.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that first company I worked for, I replaced the Android person, and then the iOS guy left. So, and I wasn't getting paid double what they were making.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was worth both of them because I could tell by their code.
That's one thing that is one thing that employers do wrong often. Maybe people will hate me for saying this. If you're under the junior dev argument of they need to hire more junior devs, honestly, senior devs feel the burn too. People need to hire more senior devs and pay them well. Like
Yeah.
that is a problem as well. Companies oftentimes, it's weird that companies set these like arbitrary salary limits of
Yeah.
like we're looking for an $80,000 developer. Why?
Well-
like why would you could hire a $160,000 developer all day long, and he's worth 5 of those $80,000 developers.
Or I mean we were talking about that in one of the episodes, like the 10x developer,
yeah, yeah,
right? Like like depending on who you hire, you are at least worth more than those 2 that we would have hired. I don't think we would have had the iOS app if we would have initially just hired those 2 devs.
yeah.
Like it would
Well,
be,
or that, because actually I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, there was a set of guys that got hired at our current company before me, and they started building an app, and they just got frustrated, and they were just like, this is painful. Like these, and it was probably developers like what you're talking about. And I knew what I was up against because they told me that in my interview. They were like, look, we've fired several people so far already that just were awful to deal with on the tech team. And that was their first experience with tech guys. So also you have to consider when you go into a new job, what they've done in the past, like where they've been. Cause like it could be a situation like what I had, but I knew what I was up against. And I didn't want it to be painful to work with me. Be somebody that's easy to work with, solve problems without, like I said, being a pain on upper management, leadership, or senior developers. I don't know where I was chasing that thought, but because you said that I was worth 2 of whatever. I don't know. I don't
at least those 2. I mean, like I'm talking about, obviously, like we're talking about very specific people now, but you were at least worth more than those 2.
Yeah, and they were able to give me the. I hate talking about myself because I don't like tooting my horn, but like, yeah, I wanted to make it easy to solve this problem without having to be down their throat all the time, because that's exactly what the guys before did. I mean, the guys before were literally what you were just talking about, where it's like, yeah, they weren't going to get an app. These guys tried to build one, and it was so painful that they were like, never mind, we'll scrap that. And they did. They scrapped the entire code base. But I want to talk, so like we've been talking about this topic for a minute. I wanted to have this super clever transition. We were talking about the Chipotle app. Okay. So we'll rewind there for a second.
Okay. So my buddy's applying at Chipotle.
Oh, dang. Okay. The Chipotle app, it's real cool. Okay, so what I was going to say is the Chipotle app. Now, what does the Chipotle app allow you to do? It allows you, without a cashier, to place an order at Chipotle and come pick up your order. You have effectively eliminated somebody's job. Are you the devil or what? Because that was our other topic, right?
Yeah. So, no, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And but like, so this is related to, and this is what I thought we were going to talk about last week when we were talking about AI. There is this fear of automation taking away jobs, or robots taking away jobs, and for some reason, people seem short-sighted, because this has literally always been happening, and I don't think now is any different than
the stagecoach.
Then or whatever, like the assembly line, like the factory or whatever. Yeah, stuff like that. I don't think now is any different. We have more, certainly some jobs will be eliminated, especially in the short term. Some jobs will just be eliminated. Like, I don't know what jobs have been eliminated so far, but obviously not all of us are farming. It used to be 100 years ago or whatever. I don't know how long ago. Everyone was basically farmers. You had to produce your own food. Like, that's how you ate. Now we have way less percentage of the population is farming.
Yeah.
And that frees us up to do other stuff.
And the people that are farming are far more productive than they used to be.
Well, yeah, and that's because of automation tools as well. Yeah, so it's like there is an increase in production. Some jobs are going to get eliminated. Like at Smith's or Safeway or Albertsons, wherever you go, you can see like the automatic checkout.
Yeah.
And like there's one person per like 6, or sometimes one person per 12, and they kind of go around. They still need to solve some problems, like if the machine gets hung up, or like if you're buying alcohol, they got to check your card. So it's like, okay, that eliminated some jobs, and so like that sucks. But like, again, in short term, you are going to lose some jobs, but like that we're pushing, like the technology pushes things forward, and to me that's going to create more jobs. Like app developer wasn't a thing because computers have automated things, and like we were able to improve our phone technology. We've actually created a whole bunch of jobs called app developer.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and people need to realize, I think this is a key thing here. When people say automation is going to eliminate jobs, it's just that. It's eliminating jobs, not people. The people that would otherwise do those jobs are going to go do other things now. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're just gone. I mean, honestly, unemployment isn't a huge problem outside of COVID. COVID is a unique thing, whatever. It has nothing to do with actual skilled labor or whatever. Like, I think honestly in the last couple of years, again, not getting political, but like the unemployment rate objectively has been lower than it's been
Yeah.
any time in the past, or any time in the last 60 years or whatever. So it's like unemployment's not a problem. So what are we worried about? We're getting more and more automated every day.
Yeah.
So one thing that I read the other day from an economist was that he said the thing that automation does the thing that drives economic growth is making people more productive.
Yeah.
And so if you eliminate a cashier, you might think, well, that's an immediate drop in productivity, but it's not, because whatever that person is now going to otherwise do will be more productive to the economy than ringing up people at a cash register.
Because now it is become cheaper to do the ringing people up. Like
Yes.
that, it's whatever the cost of the machine, or possibly I mean, obviously they had to build an app, but it's like it becomes way cheaper. Yeah, now that person can go and do something else. They might, as an individual, they might lose their job and then have to learn new skills, which I don't think sucks. I mean, I don't want to lose my job, so that obviously that sucks. But to be required to learn new skills, to me that's life. Like that is life. So
And people should be more excited about that. I just don't understand people that want to do like mind-numbing work. I just don't get that.
Yeah.
Do something cool. Do something that you're proud of.
yeah.
I don't know. And if that person does go on, eventually a lot of honestly, this is kind of the case already today. Most of the work that everybody does is assisted by technology of some sort, either technology or, well, technology doesn't necessarily have to be limited to like electrical, computerized stuff. It could also be like, I don't know, like when you build a house, we're looking at a house next door. If you're going to build a house, then you're going to use a nail gun. You're not going to sit there and hammer nails into the wood.
Yeah.
So that nail gun, yeah, it removed a ton of jobs. Like, because I think sometimes people, when they're making the case for why automation is good, we don't always have good examples of this, because we'll be like, well, the stagecoach, and like people are like, well, I can't really relate to that. I don't really know what that means. And I don't know how many jobs that really removed. But like the nail gun is a great example. We build tons of homes these days, and they always use a nail gun. Yeah, you could brute force it, and you could hire 10 more workers to go hammer nails all day.
Get a handsaw and hammer nails in.
Sure, but like, of course not. And do you think that those employees are happier using a nail gun or a hammer? Pretty sure they're going to want to use a nail gun.
Yeah.
So I just don't like that. Eliminated a ton of jobs immediately. Does that mean that we're struggling to?
But the thing is, I don't even know if even that example, if it eliminated jobs. The fact is,
it didn't.
you can build houses faster. Like you said, you're being more productive. So now, I can, like, I don't know about actual house contracting stuff, but it's like, I can build this whole development within a year, instead of just saying I can build these 2 houses in a year. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So I need more people to use that nail gun.
Yeah, the percentage of the population that works in construction didn't go down. It stayed the same. We just are more productive. We build more houses, which drives economic growth. That's good. You want that. Even if you work at a McDonald's right now, look at all the assistants that you have. You've got all sorts of cooking tools I remember even when I worked at McDonald's, we had a grill or stove, I guess. It was more of a they called it the grill. I don't know why. It was more of a stove. But they had a stove, and you go drop all these patties on, and it has this thing that drops on top so it can heat both sides at the same time and whatever. And so it makes you really quick. Nobody complained about that.
Yeah.
But it probably did eliminate a guy that has to sit there and keep flipping, because now you could just go drop a ton of patties really quickly.
And then eventually they might even get it to the spot where you don't even need that cook.
Right.
And so the thing is, I'm still okay with that. Again, we like certain jobs will be lost in the short term. But like these, like new jobs will be created. Or, okay, you're not getting paid to go work at McDonald's flipping burgers because there's a burger flipping machine. But like if you want to be a cook or you want to be a chef, people, we were talking about this. Humans are still that, like, there's no guarantee that robot is making the best burger.
Yeah.
Like obviously they're also trying to be the cheapest burger. People are still going to go to Red Robin or like pick your high price.
Chili's or whatever.
Or again, whatever's actually like a step up. I like Red Robin, but
I see. Yeah,
like the Gordon Ramsay burger place here in Vegas. Like that's like an artisan burger. I never had it. My wife did, but like that's like an artisan burger.
That's a good point, because like whenever the nail gun got invented, I don't think we had any less construction workers, but we definitely had more people engineering the nail gun. There's more people manufacturing the nail gun. That's a big deal. If we start replacing technology inside of restaurants. There's going to have to be people to maintain those, to engineer new ones.
Who's fixing that robot?
Yeah.
Right.
Who's releasing new software updates if it
Yeah.
requires software, which it certainly will. Everything these days requires software.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and those are the jobs. I get it. Like, not everybody wants to do some high-skilled job like software engineering or mechanical engineering in the case of the nail gun. I get that. But in general, objectively, again, not to get controversial, but those will drive more economic growth. More engineering jobs of any sort, mechanical, designing a nail gun, or whatever, that drives more economic growth because one person that designs the nail gun offers an insane amount of economic growth. Whoever did that was a huge, that could have been one guy that made the nail gun, and he, as a result of that, he was able to help America and the rest of the world build so many homes every year.
Yeah, well, we talked about this even with like the iPhone. Like the iPhone has created countless jobs. It's not just something that we buy. Like obviously it created all these app developers, but also it like people are able to start their own business and they have that little like the little plug-in thing where you can swipe, it's like a credit card reader. You can swipe and then it sends it off to your payment processor. Like that stuff's all really cool. And that like again, these jobs didn't exist obviously like 20 years ago because we didn't have an iPhone. And so certain things are being automated because of the rise in technology, but more jobs are also being created.
Yeah. In more high-paying jobs.
And more high-paying jobs.
That's the thing for sure. The cashier that got replaced. See, that because I guess we got to focus on that because we talk about the nail gun. That doesn't replace anybody. That enhances somebody, which I think people, to me, it's the same, but people look at the replacement of a person differently. It's like, well, if the cashier is gone, that is what we don't like.
But again, this has been happening because you say, "Oh, we don't like that," but this has been happening throughout history.
People,
the tractor, and like all sorts of farming equipment, they have these huge. I'm just gonna call them all tractors. I don't know, something that one person can drive and go and like get the berries or get the apples or get the whatever, right? So it eliminates the people from manually picking some of this stuff, although some jobs probably still have that, but like
I think people don't look as badly on that though because again it's enhancing somebody. It's not really getting rid of. I do agree.
No, but like a job that would take like because with a farm you have to have like it has to be
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like a job that used to take 10 people can be done by one person, and maybe it is just one person.
Well, but in theory, I was going to say in theory, those people that were sitting there picking could go get a tractor and they could all now be driving tractors.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, this is a problem for me. I think about this all the time. When we look at like the Chipotle app replacing a cashier, we're like, okay, there's this piece of technology that replaced this person. And it's weird the way society looks at apps and technology because it's like faceless. They don't see the developer that made the app, so they're just like, well, okay, this is my point. I don't like this. There's this piece of software that replaced a person. But you're like, there was a team of people that build that. It's not faceless. There's a ton of people like us. I'm probably preaching to the choir here because people that listen to this podcast probably are software engineers and definitely understand what we're talking about. Like building apps requires people.
Yeah.
And even robots require people. You're gonna have to have people that program it to do the thing that you want it to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even if we replace doctors at some point with like robotic surgeons, you're gonna need doctors that understand anatomy and understand surgery to help assist programmers to build that robot. The amount of economic growth, the amount of just overall job satisfaction by those people, like the net result of that is huge.
Yes. Yeah. And at a certain point, again, this is what he's talking about in Linchpin, like the artist and giving gifts. At a certain point, like it's nice if a robot can do the surgery, maybe do the surgery completely, right? I don't know if that could ever happen, maybe, right? And you're right, it does require doctors to help the programmers program all that stuff. But also, like for certain things, maybe that's fine. But for like surgery, which is like, precise. Like they can be more precise but like people still want that interaction. People say that about like our healthcare system versus like the alternative medicine.
Yeah.
They say the alternative medicine doctors seem like they care more, like they're more involved with the patient. People want that kind of stuff. At some point there is like a human to human connection.
Absolutely.
Or like you're paying for the feeling. We talk about this Apple products versus like your standard PC.
Yeah.
Right? The PC is probably still pretty good, right? Like you bought a PC. How do you feel like that compares with your Mac? Like not operating system, but just like specs wise.
Oh, it's 100,000 times faster than my Mac,
And it was cheaper too.
and it was cheaper.
Yeah.
Is it better? No.
Yeah. Exactly. That's part of it is because like there's like it is focusing on different things. There are certain things that a computer can do well and faster and whatever better, and that's fine. But there are certain things that like human contact or generating that feeling or like designing something that humans can do better. Again, I don't know, like people might argue with that, but yeah, it's like at a certain point the thing that you're interested in is that like those ideas. It's a reason why we buy books.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the reason why we watch YouTube. So hopefully the reason you're watching YouTube right now, because like the thing that you're getting from us is our unique or like our unique perspective.
Yeah. Well, and we're a long way away from like artificial. We talked about artificial intelligence in the last episode, and we blew it up to be this huge concerning, and it is a concerning thing, not something we should neglect or ignore, but it's very far away because what I've been thinking about while we're talking about this is like, so the robot that replaces a surgeon, which again replaces is like, I use that word loosely because it's going to require surgeons to build that robot. Yeah. So whatever. But, anyways, by the time we have a robot that can perform surgery, we would say, right, like most people today would be like, that would be an insane amount of like technical growth that this world has experienced if we get to a point where that can happen. Mm-hmm. But it's important to realize that that is still so far away from it being able to replace a human. I mean, surgery is one small task that humans do. Very, very. I mean, it's significant, but it's small. We do way more than just surgery.
Yeah.
So that robot can now do one thing. I would be shocked. No, I wouldn't be shocked, but it's probably not going to be for another couple decades that we have robots that can do that. But anyways, the point is we're still really far away from them being intelligent, nearly sentient beings or whatever. So, yes, we've got that robot that can do that, but doctors are still going to have to perform studies. They're still going to have to perform cases.
Yeah. Who's doing the research and the medical innovations?
To keep adding to what that thing can do. Doctors do not get replaced. Again, they get enhanced.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Related to that, and actually related to the AI, I was in an Uber last night, and the Uber driver he used to be a truck driver, like a big rig truck driver. So I was talking with him about automation and stuff like that, and I was asking where he thinks that's going, because we were just talking about the future, and he was saying like it's still not anywhere near, like, you know, we all thought that trucks would be just like automated trucks would be driving everywhere, but he was saying like he's like look at the road, look at all those shadows, like all it takes is like some weird shadow, and like suddenly the truck can't figure out where the lines are. Like the automated driver can't figure out where the lines are. Like there's a whole bunch of situations. Or like a deer. This isn't great, but this is what truck drivers do. He goes like, you know, you're driving through the middle of Texas or whatever. A deer jumps out in front. Like he says, truck driver knows you just hit the deer. Right? It's like it's worse or could cause more damage. To swerve and try to avoid it or stop or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I guess you could program that into the computer, but then it also needs to know, like, is that a human or is that a deer? Yeah.
Either way, do you change? I feel like even if it's a human,
it could be. Yeah. That's. I mean, obviously, that's that like moral debate thing. Yeah.
But the point is just the amount of thing. It's funny because what's really easy for humans to understand is so hard to program. It really, really is. Like, just, I mean, just driving is way more complicated. It's proven to be way more complicated than we thought it was. These self-driving cars, they wouldn't dare let them drive without somebody behind the wheel because it's just so far away from being completely capable.
Yeah. He was talking about that. He says like Lyft was trying to do some automated driving stuff, and there was a driver and like an engineer or somebody like in the passenger seat. So there was two people, so you just eliminated a seat, and they stopped doing it because it just wasn't there. But he also said like, especially like places downtown, like Las Vegas downtown, people are just walking forever, and he goes, the car will just stop. Like the driver knows, like, I'm just gonna inch forward because I have to get out of the road. I want to go, and the crowd of people won't stop unless, again, you're not trying to bump people. You're trying to team up. Like, you got to solve this problem as a team. But he says, like, the automated car just stops and you just won't get to where you're going.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, even Tesla, they said that by the end of last year they would have fully autonomous cars, and they're not. And it's like this huge press thing because everybody's like, well, what's happening? What's going on? And it's just like the underlying answer is like, it's just proven to be way more complicated than they thought it would be. And it's a huge liability.
Yeah. Computers are good at certain things. Oh yeah. Because I went and I reread. We were talking about AI, and I was talking about how like chess is like the human plus computer beats just the computer, right? And so I reread this book Range, and basically what they said is like computers are very good at tactics, right? And that's why like they're good at chess. Like tactics is like spotting patterns and figuring out which pattern to use. Computers aren't necessarily good at strategy, but humans are good at strategy. So it was just kind of like these are like the two sides of the coin or whatever. But yeah, it's like, so computers are very good at crunching numbers fast or spotting patterns fast, right? But like I don't know what it is about like the human psychology, but like, so obviously computers can do that better. But there are things, and it's hard for me to quantify it, but there are things that humans are better at.
Yeah, and humans are pretty resilient and adaptable to like the amount of skills that we can do is really what's so impressive, like compared to a computer. Getting a computer to even do one of the things like driving that we do is really complicated. And again, driving is such a small thing in the grand scheme of things. There's so much that we do, so much that we learn. It's really crazy.
Because like our brains, I mean, we are obviously, I guess I don't want to say obviously, but like the way I look at it is we are just like meat robots or whatever. Like we have like meat computers in our head, right? But like we have this consciousness that will automatically filter out things that are important or not important. Like if you pay attention, like if you read other psychology books, they kind of talk about that stuff a lot. Whereas computers, they can't do that, at least not yet, or not that I know of. They take in all the information and then it's part of the program to like process that. I guess our brains are doing that as well, but it's like we as the actor, the consciousness in our brain, like we take in tons of stimuli, and then but a lot of it just gets filtered out or ignored. We don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, not to chase the whole AI thing again, but that is a really good point because getting a robot to behave exactly like a human being, it does just seem all but impossible, because even if you did finally get to a point where you can replicate one human, just the psychology from one to another is so freaking different that just the complexity of trying to replicate. I don't even know how you do it, because like, when you make decisions, you're falling back on all of the experiences that you've had, obviously, but you'll remember some, you'll forget some. And like you said, you and I could go to the mountains or whatever and look out, and like what you'll retain from that and what I retain from that is going to be completely different. And I don't know how you like program that into a robot and how you make them different. Like they need some randomizer, like they need some, it's very weird. I don't know how you deal with something like that.
I'm trying to think back, because there was in Star Trek, there was obviously like an android named Data, and he had a brother like who's like the guy who built Data also just built this other guy. His name was Lore, and one was evil and one wasn't. That's why like the bad one got turned off. And I don't remember what made them. I mean, they did have AI. They had like neural networks or what. Obviously, it's like a TV show, so it's like they could kind of make it up.
But this is like why I said last week, if we make a robot that's exactly like a human, let's say it's like identical, you're just adding one competitive thing to the world that is going to compete with things that you also want to do. Like you want to become wealthy, maybe you want to have a good life for your family. Well, if you make the robot the same way, he's going to want the same thing, but he's going to be better at it because he can remember more. He can, he's better than you. So like, why introduce that competition into the world? I don't see us doing that. I don't see the world going that way. Like I said last week, I see people enhancing themselves.
Yeah, I think you said it, but I think Elon Musk and talk about that, and I think the guy who did Dilbert, Scott Adams, talks about that a lot, where they think that the like AI isn't necessarily going to take over. It's like people are going to enhance themselves,
Yes.
and it's like we are the AI.
Well, our human selfishness is what drives all of the growth that we have. That people want more for themselves.
Yeah.
That's what drives economic growth. That's what drives all of the growth in the world. Even everything, even the humanitarian projects, even those are like sort of selfish in a way. Like,
Yeah.
So, the point is like people aren't going to introduce competition that could beat them. They're going to want to be better for themselves.
Yeah.
Which is probably the way to go. It's weird because there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to introduce some kind of thing, but if you become so obsolete because everybody else is so far ahead of you, then maybe people won't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty glad that I won't have to worry about this controversy in my life.
Like
I'm pretty
nanos,
sure.
the nanos.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'll be happy to leave this earth before it gets that crazy. Like I don't know. Plus, dude, think about it. Like when we look at like cavemen that discovered fire, you and me are that right now. When people look back on software in 1,000 years and be like, "Can you believe these guys?
Can you believe they were programming in C?
Yeah. COBOL.
Come on, what were they even doing? Yeah.
That's like the equivalent of like rubbing two sticks together or whatever. Like,
how does this work?
Yeah, we'll just look like apes and just like Oh man, the way that dude, even the way that we have to record this podcast is just it just seems like a lot of work. Like I mean everything, literally everything about this podcast has been like hard to get started.
I really think you should talk about that. Like as still on this channel, but you should do videos talking about our camera setup, our lights, like the ones that you tried. Because I think there's value in that, whether it's like our normal viewers or not. Like, I think there's value in that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, if you look back on the way that we set up this podcast 1,000 years from now, it just look like cavemen. We need this mic and this thing and this cable and this stand and this computer. Like, oh, it's crazy. Even this TV, we got a new TV now, and it looks crazy because it's way too low.
Yeah. New TV looks good, but we use the same mount, and it's.
We've gone through all these lights. I mean, dude, it's been crazy. We are real cavemen just trying to record a video.
The only thing that has stayed
the table
is the table. The table was in episode 1. No tablecloth, though, so that's new.
Yeah. This thing, too, we had to get this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Did I just turn us off? No,
we're good. Wait, I think
we're cavemen.
Yeah, we just turned off audio.
The paint, I mean, dude, it's just.
What else?
But I mean, that's everything. Like everything right now requires so much work. It feels like to get like pretty simple things done. You want to do a podcast? It's like a lot of work. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Building a house. It's all crazy.
Yeah.
So the last thing.
Oh, okay.
For today.
How long have we been going? Do you know?
We're at about an hour and a half, right? A little over an hour and a half.
Okay. Do we want to talk about this one?
Yeah, okay. It doesn't have to be a long one.
Okay, cool. What do you think? Okay, because obviously, like, I like the stuff that we're talking about, but also, since we don't get a lot of questions, I'm always like trying to figure out, okay, also how can we be beneficial to new developers? So, still, this is just a good conversation anyway. But what do you think the hardest part about learning to program is? I don't know if that's the right question. That's how I frame it in my head.
I know my answer. Hopefully this is what you're looking for. The hardest,
or like the hardest thing to learn, or I don't know. You can answer like however.
Yeah, let me give you what I think you're asking, and what my gut reaction to that question is, and then you can tell me if it's what you're looking for. I think the stress and anxiety at the beginning is the worst, and specifically what I mean by that.
Yeah, at the beginning of what?
At the beginning of like learning programming, like when you're brand new, the anxiety of what you don't know is overwhelming and it's crazy. Piecing things together is really, really hard. Especially because there's so many times when there's some topic that you're learning that like some senior dev will tell you like, you don't really need to worry about this right now or whatever. So being overwhelmed with what you don't know is the worst and the hardest thing. And so even more specifically than that, the hardest thing about learning to code is the discouragement. it's not that, and really this goes for anything. I mean, literally anything hard in life. Losing weight, the hardest part of losing weight is not actually eating less. It's not running. It's the discouragement.
When the scale goes up, that happened.
Exactly.
That happened on Friday because I started a diet again, and I've been dieting hard, and it was going down from Monday until Friday, and I still did like all of Friday night was cheat night, so that was different. But Friday morning, I woke up, and the scale went up.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, why? Why did it go up?"
Well, so that's the thing. When you're losing weight or when you're programming, the hardest part is not seeing the value in the progress that you've made. And so whenever you go for a run and then that night you see that you weigh more, you're like, all of that was for nothing.
Yeah. Why did I do that?
Why did I do that? But it's not true.
That is the wrong attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not true at all. And not only is it probably physically not true, because in the case of like your weight going up, that could be water weight. I mean, it could be your weight going up in the grand scheme of things means nothing. You want to see the number go down because that's our best measurement for whether or not we're successful. Really, people just want to look better in the mirror. I don't think people really care about what the number on the scale is.
Yeah, because if I'm like 200 pounds, 250 pounds, how much do I weigh right now? I weigh in kg. I weigh in kilograms because that's what we do at my house. So I weigh, it's got to be like 230 or 240 pounds, right? But I'm fat. Like I'm I'm not The Rock. Okay.
Okay.
But
husky.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Yeah, but
I wouldn't say you're fat.
That's fair. I appreciate that. But
do you think I'm fat?
No, you look thinner than me.
Definitely. I don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, but you're right. I don't care about that number. If I weighed the exact same amount, but I was built like The Rock, then obviously like I wouldn't care. And so you're right. It is about, obviously, like there's some aesthetics, like looking better, and also like wanting to feel better as well. Like, nobody wants to get tired walking up some stairs or even just going out for a run. You want to be able to move around and do stuff. Be active.
I worked for a fitness company, and the owner said, really what we're trying to do is make people feel better naked. That's all anybody wants. You want to look better when you get in the shower and you pass by the mirror. You want to be like, dang, I'm looking good.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of like fitness experts. We're totally off the rails here, but there's a lot of fitness experts. Even my sister studied this in college too. And a lot of them say like, dude, ditch the scale. Get rid of it. You shouldn't care. Like it doesn't, because like, you could be 5 pounds less, but if you still don't like the way you look in the mirror, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So this is why Atomic Habits has this. And also, I think the idea also came from Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. He says focus on systems, not on goals. So your system is go to the gym every day or go for a run every day. Or do like some people just say as simple as like break a sweat every day. Like do something that causes you to like break a sweat. Do that every day. You don't have to worry about the goal. Like if your system is eating right and exercising every day, the scale will take care of itself.
Yeah. I think this way. I have this.
It's true about programming too.
Yes, that's my point. I don't want to call it a problem, but this is something that I deal with constantly. Where sometimes I'm not like in the mood or whatever to like learn something new or what. I mean, we all get there. It can be daunting at times, or not daunting. Just like it just seems like a lot of effort. You talked about this before. Like your brain is like, I don't know if I want to put in that much effort right now. But what I try to remind myself is like it's also not always about learning something new. It's about lifestyle, and like that's the same with fitness as well. It's you do want to lose weight, of course you do, but to do that you need to create a lifestyle of fitness, and that will pay dividends even after you look exactly how you want to look. You got to maintain it. You want to live a healthy life. You want to live longer. Create that lifestyle. And so yes, for programming in the beginning, that's the hardest thing. Is you're not focused on the lifestyle. You're focused on the new thing that you need to learn, and you're focused on what you don't know. And it's like, that's not what you should be focused on. You should be focused on becoming a programmer, becoming a self-identified programmer.
This is actually that is also in Atomic Habits, because he talked about the goals, systems, and he added one more step is changing your identity. So get the identity of a programmer.
There's a lot of authors that talk about the benefit of identity. Identity can be toxic because we all want it. Everybody wants identity, and when we don't have an identity that represents either some accomplishment or something actually significant, we fall back on identities that don't really matter. I don't want to say what those are because for everybody it's different, but maybe hair color or something. Like I don't know. I don't identify with like blonde people.
Oh yeah.
So it should be less about like in my opinion anyways, identity should have a lot less to do with appearance and more to do with what's on the inside.
Yeah.
Like what you do, who you are, what your lifestyle represents.
So it's character.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and I agree with that. I think those are, if you focus on character more than whatever other factors, like your life takes care of itself a little bit, you know.
Well, it's kind of like, again, I don't want to get like controversial, but like there's like in the world today, like there's a lot of like race identity or whatever. And again, I just don't know if like the appearance is what matters. The culture is what matters for sure.
Yeah.
Be proud of your culture and whatever, but that's what matters. Like the lifestyle that you live, not the appearance. I think the appearance, and I don't even know why I'm bringing this up. I just feel like a lot of people fall back on something like that, and it's, I don't know, not relevant to programming. The thing that's relevant to programming is like I said, not getting discouraged because it's the journey. The journey is what matters. Like it sounds so cliche. Like I know there's junior devs or people getting into any craft or whatever that would find that to be like the cliche of becoming but it's true. Like it's like focus your energy not on becoming as good as you or on knowing everything today. Focus on the journey that it took to get there.
Yeah. Also, again, cliche, but I forget what book this was in. But it's obviously it's like a old story, like the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? Like the turtle is like the slow and steady wins the race, and obviously like the rabbit was fast, but then gets diverted or whatever, right? Like moves off to the next thing. So focus on that slow and steady. Like it might take you to be a programmer. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go slow, but you want it to be a maintainable pace. So like it might take you 2 years to get that first dev job, or going from junior to senior might take you 4 years or whatever. But like slow and steady, come in every day, do good work, try to learn stuff, and you're building those skills. You're gonna look back. Oh, has it been 4 years already? Wow.
And well, now that I've learned a skill that paid off really well financially, I now approach other stuff in a way that's like, okay, well, again, another cliche but super true. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth anything.
I used to say that to my students all the time. Exactly that.
It's so hard, but you're gonna get paid well because it's hard.
That's why. Yeah, that's why people are willing to pay you hard.
Yeah.
Or like to pay you well is because it's hard, and that filters out some people. Just don't be one of those people who gets filtered out.
Yeah. So does that answer is that the answer that you were looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. That is exactly what I was thinking. That wasn't my answer, but actually,
So what's your answer?
The thing is actually yours kind of does encompass that, because you said like the things that you don't know. When I thought about this, and I guess this is actually even related to like the entitlement that we were talking about before. To me, the hardest part about programming isn't the language. Like, so I did teach a lot of students, and I taught like freshman level courses. And so learning the language at first is a big hurdle, right? And then you accumulate these tools. Okay, what's a class? What's inheritance? How do I use that? So you're focused on like the how of that. The harder part, and now the more interesting part, is building systems. And like this, again, that's why I said this is where like the entitlement comes from. Like, it's not just, can I plop this code down and do this thing? Like, as you're building real software, you are interacting with other programmers. So that's one. You're interacting with other people's code, but also you're interacting with like changing requirements or like updated requirements. And so you have to build it in a way that that is flexible and modular, right? And so that's the thing is we talked about this on the podcast, but we're dealing with it at work, like trying to be truly agile. And so I'm going back and I'm rereading the agile software development, and like I said, it's all about code, and that's the hard thing, because of course when you're first learning to code, you're like, what's an array, what's a for loop, or like even you get beyond that and you're like, okay, yeah, I can write a class for this thing. Like, okay, I understand that. I'm going to build this object and I can just pass that in. But like, it's not necessarily flexible. And like, you'll see these, like, what starts to become like more complicated architecture. And you're like, why would I do that? And to me, that's the same as a freshman going, why would I write a for loop? I can just write 10 printf statements.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, but that is that's the harder thing, because you have these set of tools. let's like the design patterns is what I'm thinking about right now. You have these additional set of tools. Like, of course, once you learn about a for loop and you become comfortable with that, you're like, okay, I'm going to use a for loop here. You don't even think about it. You're just like, oh, I need to loop through this.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I need to hold this collection of objects. I'm going to put it in an array or something like that. Once you learn these tools, these actually become almost like concrete tools.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the design patterns or like just in general architecture patterns are more vague, and you don't necessarily know when you need them or when you should use them. And like you get better at it, like spotting like code smells or just like, okay, here's a situation where I can use that. But a lot of times it is like it's like stressful on your brain, like the good kind of stress, like but where you're just like, okay, how would I solve this problem in a way that is flexible and like open to change? And to me, that is the harder challenge, and that is the difference between. It's hard. I don't know. That's the difference between like a junior to mid-level developer versus a senior developer.
Yeah, yeah.
Is if you can, but still, like we're all still learning. That doesn't mean just because you haven't done some of this stuff doesn't make you not a senior developer. If you're building working software, like I think that counts too. But it's like that is that next step, and I don't even think. Even at my school, we didn't touch on this a lot. I focused on architecture because I liked it and I read my own books, but we didn't have like classes on design patterns or like how to architect things correctly.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of the architectural problems that I found in my code, I found by talking to somebody and explaining what I did. Mm-hmm. And as I talk out loud, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with you in the last year where I say something out loud and I'm like, that was dumb. Why did I do that? I should not have done that. So I think I could, maybe you agree, if you are learning to write code, I don't know, because if you don't have somebody to talk to, because that would be the thing that I would suggest first is like, go talk to somebody. Go talk about your code. Explain what you did. Because then you get this experience of like procedurally stepping through the code that you wrote, and then you can maybe find flaws in it or ways to improve it or whatever. But if you don't have somebody to talk to, maybe it's a good idea to write like a README or write a blog and put some code out there that you wrote and explain why you did it the way that you did. Almost for sure, if you do that, that will be more valuable than just continuing to write that code the way that you did.
Yeah.
And always assume, for me, this is a big one, always assume that there's a better way to do what you're doing. It's actually happened to me a lot in, especially in Swift. There's been things where like I write some piece of code and then some other developer comes along that I'm talking to and shows another way. And I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. I didn't even know that was built into the language. Holy crap. Yeah. That's super helpful. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. It's interesting because as I'm reading as I'm rereading the Agile software development, I'm looking at Robert Martin's code, and this is gonna sound funny because that guy's obviously like he's like world famous level. He wrote like a ton of books, and I'm looking at his code. The designs are really good. The code looks kind of like garbage to me, and like I would just clean it up. I would invert some else statements. So like he'll have this huge like if statement with all of the logic in the if statement, and then else. Nothing, like just return, right? And it's just like, okay, just invert that if statement at the front, and that's like, it's small stuff. Obviously that it alone doesn't make it garbage, but it's just like smaller stuff like that, and that's fine. Maybe he wasn't looking at that. That was also written 20 years ago, by the way, right? So it's like maybe it's easier for me to say that now because other people have written books about how to write code better.
Design principles have changed,
and I have the benefit of reading those other books that were maybe written after. So I'm not. I of course I wouldn't say that like this guy's code was garbage, but it's like it is interesting to be able to look at that and go, okay, I would do that. I would do that better.
Yeah, I would just try to find examples of people doing the same thing and decide for yourself what's the better way to do it. But yeah, I agree with you. Like architecture is a huge problem with junior and mid-level developers that just don't understand it, especially with apps, because the
app ecosystem, the app ecosystem as well, I'll call it, of Android and iOS doesn't lend itself very well to like good architecture out of the box.
Yeah.
You have to do whatever implement, and I think they did that on purpose. I think it was like, hey, we recognize that the world of app development is going to evolve over time, so we're going to give just a very basic system that you can adapt in whatever way that you want to do whatever you want. But people, same thing with I would say it's the same thing with web development too, even full stack development. They just lend themselves to easily poorly architected projects.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
It's just like architecture is hard.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think I'm an expert at it at all.
We spend a lot of time talking about it at work because it's
yeah,
a big deal.
Because it's a big deal. One of the things that I did have the benefit of, like, I don't know. I mean, you could do this. You could do this practice, but because I was a teacher, because I was teaching the same stuff over and over again, obviously I learned the language better by doing that. But also, we had this. It started out. DigiPen had this C game engine, and it was actually that was bad. Like that they were using to teach some of their game engine courses, and I was using it, and every semester or every like 3 months when I was teaching in Singapore, I would rewrite it. And I would constantly look at it because I didn't have anything else to do. Like, okay, the courses are the courses, but I would just constantly look at this code and go, okay, how could that be better? Do we really need these functions? What if we do this? And so I had the opportunity to rewrite effectively the same program dozens of times. Maybe not dozens, I don't know, but like a lot.
Yeah.
And then I eventually used that engine, C++ style, and I wrote a book about that. And still I'm doing it because I built that engine in Swift, and I'm still doing it. I think, oh, this is the best one. This is the best one I've done. Like, okay, I can do this better. So yeah, I'm still learning all the time. But I think if you build an app, go out and read something and then rebuild that app, like that exact same one. So solve the same problems and see if you can solve them in a better way.
Yeah. One thing I used to do is I used to look at like complex stuff in programming, and I would just get so frustrated because I'd say like there's whether it was architecture or anything else, even just a feature of the language, and I would just get so frustrated because I'd be like, there's other people out there that understand this, and I'm struggling to understand it. And like, even though the information is here on the internet, I can't get this figured. I used to beat myself up thinking like, well, there's something wrong with me because if other people understand this, why can't I understand this? And the hard part to understand when you're in that situation is that everybody went through that. That's not abnormal. It's extremely normal for you to sit there and struggle. And then one day you're going to have a light bulb. It's weird how programming works like that, where it's like, oh my God, I totally understand that now. After 3 months of dealing with this, boom, that's it. And those are the moments that you're looking for. They're not going to come immediately. It's going to take time. Architecture is the same way. Yeah. A lot of architectural patterns will not make sense until you really just keep messing with it.
Well, yeah. And one of the problems, and because this is one of the things that we talk about, like, you know that you should do this thing, but you don't always know why you should do it. And you can read, oh, here's this problem that it solves. And you're like, okay, yeah, does it? But it doesn't matter until it's great if you can learn from other people's mistakes, but a lot of times humans aren't like that. And they go, okay, well, I think it's better this way, so I'm going to do this way. Oh, I ran into that problem, right? And then now you have a better understanding of that thing. That happens to me all the time.
It's like the thing that I said a few episodes ago that I almost said Mike Tyson. Oh my God. What's dude's name? The astronomer.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. Thank you. It's like the thing he says. The most important skill you can have is knowing enough about a topic to think that you're right, but not enough to know that you're wrong.
Yeah.
And like you just have to do that because there's gonna be plenty. I've done it. There's been plenty of like times when I've been all up in my ego thinking like, why would they do that? It's fine this other way. You don't need that. Like you could do it without that. And like I just don't know enough about that to know that I'm wrong. Like So
that's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard. But if there's enough people in the programming community that have done that, trust them. Give people some credit that have been doing this longer than you. Drop the ego. They probably know more than you. They didn't invent that. Like
architectural design patterns are insanely complicated to come up with. People didn't invent it to solve a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They did it for. It doesn't mean that all architectural patterns are good.
And it doesn't mean so. Like, I think I told this story before, but I had a student who wanted to architect his, because we talked about game objects before. I had a student who wanted to architect their game objects as like a big, deep nested hierarchy, and we always recommended against doing that. It was better to have a single game object that you attach components to, right? So it's just more flexible that way. And he didn't like that. And I think it was because it's harder to wrap your brain around that concept, because it's using like design patterns to solve this, as opposed to, well, I've already learned inheritance, I'll just do that. So I said, okay, do it like that. And actually I've had 2 students have this problem. And so probably a lot, but only 2 talked with me about it. And so I said, okay, go do that other route, and that's perfectly fine. I said, like, the outcome will be either it works for you, and then you didn't do something simple, or you didn't do something overly complex. You kept it simple, and it didn't negatively affect your program, no problem. Or like, it works really well, and you can come tell me, and then I can learn something. Or it doesn't work out well for you. It sucks because you'll have to rewrite it this other way. But at least you'll have internalized the problem.
Yeah.
And then you'll understand why this thing isn't bad. So I would always recommend to go and try it.
That's a good point. There's something weird about human cognitive makeup that makes us. We learn better when we've made the mistake. We learn better when we've done it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, even like children exhibit this,
Touching
touching the stove.
Oven, yeah.
Or, start touching the, yeah. It's like you could tell them all day long not to touch it, but they're all going to touch it. So
I did.
Yeah. So
penny in the light socket.
I didn't do that, or fork or whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't do that one, but I did shock myself once, and man, I've been way more careful with electricity since then. It's just, and like, it's not like I didn't know that electricity was dangerous before. Like, I know it's dangerous. People will tell you, and I believe you. But
we were changing the light here, and I was like, "Did you turn off the circuit breaker?"
Dude, how many times did I call you, and I'm like down at the breaker, and we're like, turn it off, seeing if the light comes on or whatever. Yeah, because
I don't want to get shocked.
I don't want to get shocked. I've done it before. It's awful. It's super bad. So yeah, I mean, but so if that's true, which it is, we know we learn better when we mess up. Then focus on that.
Yeah.
Go. I mean, it's fine. Go write things the wrong way. That's fine. I think I struggle with this as a teacher, where I immediately see somebody do something wrong, and I'm like, no, don't do that. Do this. Yeah. And I've as of lately, I've been better about that. Like, I will watch somebody mistype something, or whether, even if it's just they didn't type the name of the variable right or whatever, and I'm just going to let it happen. Like, my gut is to like, but like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Do it. And the variable name one is stupid, but other stuff, like logical operations that, like, you mistype plus versus minus sign, I'm just going to let you do it. But it's hard because you're trying not to waste time. You're trying to get it done quickly.
But it is good. So I also used to tell my students, like, if they would type something wrong, I go, read that compiler warning, or read that message, read that error. Like, now the next time you see that error, like, you'll be able to diagnose it faster.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. With my wife, she is Korean. I think she speaks English well now, but like, definitely has an accent. But especially when she first started, she gets her grammar wrong a lot, and like, doesn't know the words. And I don't correct her.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time, I don't correct her.
Yeah. Because she'll hear somebody say it the right way,
and she'll ask me questions. But it's just like, it's more important to have that conversation, like, where we're actually talking and she's getting comfortable talking with people, as opposed to being worried about all the mistakes that she makes.
Yeah. Right. Well, as a junior developer too, because this is all about advice for that person. Don't be the person that you encounter an error and then you're like, oh, what's going on? Because I've seen that too, where like somebody will get like some compiler error will pop up. They will not read it, and they'll just look at you. What's going on here? Why did this break?
Yeah.
Figure it out. Get after it.
Yeah.
Because if you figure it out, it's going to stick way more than if I tell you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or at least if you struggle with it.
Yeah.
Whether you actually solve it or not is less important, especially as a junior developer. But yeah, try to struggle with that. Okay, what is the compiler telling me? Or whatever. Like, what is the issue that's like what? It's a crash or something. You try to figure it out. At the very least, again, worst case scenario, you don't figure it out, but you gain some experience trying to debug.
Yeah, because that's a skill.
That's because that's a skill.
You
yeah.
have to have that skill.
Yeah.
I like
that's a
seeing
skill.
job descriptions where they actually put in there like debugging skills. That like we're looking for somebody with good debugging skills
Yeah.
because that's also important. If you know how to write code, it's only half the battle.
I had a job interview. I think it was the second job that I had here, and he asked me, okay, because like they had an existing app. This was that sports betting app. They had an existing app, and he goes, okay, so you jump into the app, like it's day one, and something is like breaking or whatever. It's like it's not doing something. So like how do you figure it out? And I didn't know what answer he was looking for, but I said, I'd put a breakpoint, and start debugging. And I don't know if that was what he was looking for, but I mean, I got hired at that job. So like, but because like, I don't know what else other people. I kind of laugh. What else would you do? Like you put a breakpoint and you figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
And especially if there's nobody to ask, like maybe the first thing is ask if you can. But like you said, you don't want to bug like the senior developers or whatever. It's like I'm gonna explore first. And I do that for our current work. Whenever I'm touching the back end, I'll get as far as I can. I'll diagnose as much as I can and try to figure out, like even if like I'll try to collect information and then I'll talk with our back end lead.
Yeah, at least if you're going to ask for help, come to that conversation prepared and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just like, oh, well, I just hit this problem. Because, I mean, they're going to have to do the same debugging that you didn't do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least bring something to the
At least bring
conversation.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, as a junior dev, if you're going to consult the senior dev for help, don't like, not that they're like, I don't know, some like, I don't know, I don't like people that are like self-righteous or ego, but like just come to that conversation prepared.
yeah,
Give him the
it's just-
respect of having done this.
At least, yeah, try. Well, because that's actually when I was a teacher, we would put up a sign and it would say like, if you're gonna come ask for programming help, like try at least like. Did you put breakpoints? Did you do printf?
Yeah.
Give me two things that you tried. And so sometimes I would be able to like debug from my office. They'd come in and they would say, "Oh, it's doing this," and I go, and so I go, "Okay, well, like, what was causing that?" Or I'd ask them a few questions, and I'd be like, "Okay, try this or that."
Yeah.
And then sometimes it would solve the problems. Sometimes it would be really weird or mysterious, and I would help them. Sometimes I'd jump into the code base and like there was actually a lot of times where I would jump into the code base and like walk them through what I was doing. Here's how to debug this hard problem.
Yeah. Well, that conversational part of it is also a good skill too, like learning how to converse with somebody and solve the problem.
Yeah.
So if you bring nothing to the conversation, that's another skill that you're losing out on.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything else?
I just really think that companies should hire more junior devs. And I really think companies should pay me $1 million.
Yes, I
Like,
agree.
why wouldn't they pay me? Like that's just I'm not being entitled,
I don't know.
but they owe it to me.
They do. They owe you. You and your beautiful headphones.
Yeah, rose. What do we call it?
Rose gold.
Rose gold or something. I don't know. Is that a color? I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, I don't have anything else.
Check us out on Twitter. Check
Oh,
us
yeah.
out on Instagram. You know the usual.
Yeah, ask. I would love if you ask questions. If you have questions, we can answer them. We'll do our best.
I'm excited for when the channel gets big enough that we can start having some conversations on YouTube.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just takes more work on our part. Yeah, I need to get more active on Twitter, because we are on Twitter. Yeah, Instagram.
Yeah, this will get really interesting when we've been around for like a year and a half, 2 years. Hopefully we've got a pretty decent base. If anybody comes back and watches these videos of these two cavemen trying to figure out podcasting,
Yeah.
who knows if we'll even be in this room anymore.
Yeah, maybe not.
Anyways, thanks y'all. That's episode 11.
Yep.
We are now almost 3 months in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's awesome. We're just
I'm
going to
loving
keep going,
I'm
keep
loving
getting after it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye.